Well, look at that. The historical movie The Odyssey is finally out, in all of its historical glory. I mean, the idea of gods, giant-ass men, a cyclops. I mean, this movie is a true historical staple in the world of historical literature. Oh my god. Okay, I'm done fucking around. So Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey is out, and I've actually been looking forward to this movie. Which is funny because I have a strange relationship with Christopher Nolan. While I acknowledge his work as a filmmaker and he's made some of the most iconic movies over the past 2 decades, you see, the thing is, I've never really liked his style. Over his filmography, you tend to notice the subpar editing at times, and as of recent, it's like he's personally went to the sound department to make it impossible to hear any of his characters' dialogue. I mean, shit, back in the day, he was regarded as the dumb person's idea of a smart director. I'm just saying, but I think his recent boost of popularity comes from a certain group of people that probably need to watch more than one movie when discussing their favorites amongst an ocean of other directors. But that's a topic for another day. We're talking about the historical movie The Odyssey. Okay, that's my last one, I promise. Now, if you don't know anything, or if you have a joke of an education system like most of the schools in America, The Odyssey is based on the book of the same name and details the lead character Odysseus' 10-year journey home after the Trojan War. Now, the book is structured in a non-linear format, so this is obviously Christopher Nolan's wheelhouse. Now, I have my little nitpicky things about Nolan's style that I was familiar with before seeing the movie, and they're very much present in this one. There's no doubt that this man puts himself through hell when making these movies. I respect that instead of turning to more practical methods when making his movies, he always finds a way to film in a traditional way. A tradition that feels like it's being phased out with major blockbusters. However, I can't help but think that this choice has led to a lot of the nitpicks I've had over the years in his filmography. Ever since The Dark Knight Rises, it's like he's intentionally making it impossible to decipher the dialogue in his movies. A lot of the times in The Odyssey, you can tell the editors are desperately trying to edit around the sound mixing in this movie to the point where characters' mouths aren't moving, yet there's dialogue being spoken. That's something Nolan has been kind of infamous for. You'll go from seeing something genuinely mind-blowing, yet for some reason, it'll cut at a very awkward moment and it makes it unintentionally hilarious. It's most egregious with scenes of dialogue. I won't rag too hard on the action in this movie. Outside of the final act, it's pretty solid throughout, but whenever characters are having a conversation, he always has to do multiple cuts whenever there's a long monologue. It's not like there aren't moments where he just sits the camera down and lets us enjoy the brilliance of the actors' performances, but it doesn't help that with the IMAX cameras used to film this movie, you get a very limited window in regards to how long you can film. It's a weird toss-up because I love the rich texture that shooting on film provides, but it feels like he's limiting his style just for the sake of capturing a motion picture in a way that doesn't allow him to bring a lot of creativity within the camera work. This is a bigger conversation for another video, but I feel like versatility is something Nolan doesn't want to prioritize, and that can definitely be a detriment to his work. Now, having said all that, I realized something when I was watching this movie. I realized that with each subsequent nitpick I had with Nolan's style and how ever-present they are, it's like he pulled me back in and made me rethink my silly little evaluations. It's like Nolan personally heard me talking shit and had to remind me that I'm watching a fucking experience. Cause yeah, outside of those nitpicks, this movie is fucking amazing. Despite the lack of movement in the camera and how sanitary it can feel, there are moments in this movie where I genuinely had no idea how the fuck he pulled it off. On top of just looking gorgeous as fuck, shout out to Hoyt van Hoytma, the way Nolan is able to capture the scale of battle sequences and the giant monsters that Odysseus and his army encounter genuinely shocked my cerebral cortex. Mind you, he's filming actors running away from a towering cyclops while they're trying to board their ships. Like, how the fuck is that even possible? I can't put into words, without getting into the minutia of filmmaking without making this review an hour long, but I cannot understate how unbelievable these feats are. And it happens twice in the movie. This movie adapts the longest surviving piece of literature in the world. This book has single-handedly shaped the foundational concept of heroes, larger-than-life individuals that people have been looking up to for centuries. This movie is big, it's a spectacle, and I hate using this word, but it's epic. You feel the scope of these events, the raw resilience of these men and women, the endurance of the horrors of war, the path home and losing hope in your guiding principles, the weight of the world as you hold the foundations of your society together. These actors convey the uncomfortable nature of this complex and violent world. It goes without saying that the performances in this movie are off the charts good. You have your typical short-lived performances from actors who want the privilege of working with Nolan, and they're good in their own right, but the standouts in this movie are without a doubt Matt Damon and Anne Hathaway. I'm not one to elicit award season predictions, mainly because I hate award shows, but I would not be surprised if Damon and Hathaway started gaining award buzz. However, there is unfortunately a big elephant in the room. Every actor here brings their A game, and not a single one of the performances are bad. However, the big 180 to this point is Tom Holland. Don't get me wrong, this dude is more talented than I could ever wish to be. However, there is a weak link to the performances, and he is exactly that link. Like I said, the performances aren't bad in this movie. However, this is Tom Holland doing a very normal acting job. It's more noticeable when he's next to titans of the industry like Matt Damon, Anne Hathaway, Robert Pattinson. Hell, even John Leguizamo mogs him with his acting. I guess I just expected a little more out of Holland. I think he's in a weird position as an actor where he's good in specific roles that don't exactly allow him to be transformative in his acting. I guess what I'm trying to say is that he's a good actor, but not a versatile one. It's a weird toss-up because on one hand, you can see the absolute cinematic extravagance on screen, and there's a lot of visual beauty and techniques that genuinely floored me. Yet there's always something that takes me out and pulls me back in at the same time. I know I've hyperfixated on this point a lot, but it's such a weird conundrum. You have a filmmaker who's been in the game for the better part of 2 decades, yet for some reason it's always like he's trying his hardest to be as sedated as possible. It's only weird now because for Nolan, this idea of pushing the limits on what you can capture with the film camera has been his go-to strategy with his latest entries. You always get a juxtaposed experience. Tenet's a great concept with a lot of wacky ideas, yet the script is fucking terrible. Oppenheimer is probably his magnum opus, yet it has his little Nolanisms that annoy the shit out of me. He has his style, or at least his approach to how he makes his movies, and I won't discredit that, but I do believe it leaves a lot of pieces on the table that would normally get called out by most film buffs. I don't know, it's a weird thing to have on your reputation, whether it be good or bad in the long run, but despite my fixated analysis on Christopher Nolan that nobody asked for, there's no denying that this movie fucking rocks. I think one thing that really brings these scenes together is the score. I don't know how the fuck Ludwig Göransson does some of the things he does, but I love this subgenre of working on a score for Christopher Nolan and also including Travis Scott in some way in the process. And it comes out as some of the most enthralling music you will ever hear. It's woven together in the scenes and it creates an experience that feels grandiose. You feel the frustration and pain leap off of these people. You see the agony of war in ways that feel like a spectacle, yet so much weight is emanating off the screen. There's a level of desperation and triumph that showcases how mythological these people are. The years and centuries of inspiration from 3,000 years ago come to life in a way that embodies the stories we've seen recreated or inspired by over the past centuries. It also manages to be horrifying in ways that I wasn't expecting, and again, it's all captured on film, and I genuinely do not know how the fuck they did some of these scenes. I may be a cynical old fart sometimes, but there's no doubt that this movie is meant to be an experience. It's a celebration of what we've come to know as the blockbuster. A celebration of how these iconic characters have shaped the foundation of stories we've seen told through the perspective of larger-than-life beings to the pages of comic books. It may not be as good as Oppenheimer, but goddamn, this movie was a wild ride. It's way better than that Epic the Musical shit. Yes, I fucking said it. So with all that out of the way, I'm giving Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey a 9 out of 10. Be sure to check out The Odyssey for yourself and support your local movie theater, because that's how we keep this space alive.